about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen Podcast.
We're back. No happiness here. It's an emergency podcast. The Four Horsemen Podcast. It's your host, P. Wagon, joined by Steve. And we're here to really talk you all off the ledge. We all know what happened. It was a very unfortunate Saturday. And people are divided. People are very divided right now, Steve. I'm here to bring some levity to the division and making sure that we're all on the same page going forward. It has come to my attention that there are people out there who do not like Kit Kats, and I will not stand for that.
I mean, a Kit Kat is certainly in the top 10, arguably top 5 all-time candy, right?
It's top 3 in my book.
I wouldn't be opposed to that rating.
All right. So just so we're on the record here, we are Team Kit Kat.
And also, we're Team Tortellini, correct?
And Team Tortellini. Just so you all know, we're in sync. We both had tortellini tonight for dinner. And the Horsemen aren't going anywhere. There were talks that we would retire after our ill-advised pick last week. We're here. We're here for the long haul. We got half a season left. 7 games left.
We're not leaving. We're not fucking leaving.
So, Steven, we won't talk about the game. We won't talk about the hurry-up offense. We're just going to have a conversation. Before we do
I'm sure that some of the game is going to bleed into it, but yeah, we're going to talk more in the macro sense in terms of the program itself, almost a mid-season emergency state of the program. That's pretty much the plan. I'm sure we might get into a couple of plays here or there, a couple of schemes, whatever that may be. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of a free-flowing podcast. This is obviously, I wouldn't say it's uncharted waters. We, as a fan base, are all extraordinarily familiar with this, and that's kind of the point that we're going to end up making throughout the course of the podcast. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna turn over to you. I'm going to let you make your opening statements, your arguments, anything that's bothered you. I know there's plenty that's bothered me, specifically a lot of the fan response. So, sir, take us into it.
That's where the majority of my points lie today. Our mentions are to use a term I don't put lightly, a dumpster fire. There's a lot of people in there thinking they can coach better than the coaches who are paid millions of dollars to coach. There's a lot of people in our mentions who are calling out young men for not performing to their standards. These imaginary standards that fans set. Everyone just needs to chill. And I get where you're upset. The unrealistic expectation of having a 10-win season again, it's a pretty high bar. What you have to remember is we do not have the same regime that we did last year. Oh, but they were a 10-win team last year. They almost made the playoffs. That's not the same team. We have a new quarterback. We have a new slew of running backs. We have a new defensive coordinator. We have all new coaches. Winning is hard, to use a Brian Kelly quote. And at the same time, everyone's acting like the sky is falling when we are a 500 team. We're not 0-6. We're not 1-5. We're not 2-4. We're 3-3. Yes, the 2 losses outside of Ohio State were very bad. But at the end of the day, we've seen this before with Irish. Charlie Weiss era, Bob Davie era, Tyrone Willingham era, Brian Kelly era. We've seen these type of losses before. The Irish are going to rebound. They got UNLV this week, home of Guy Fieri, and we really are in a fine spot. Oh, we can't go 9-3. We can't go 10-3. Why not? We can't beat Clemson. Stanford beat us. We can't beat USC. USC lost. Marshall beat us. it's this fallacy that of the moment where Notre Dame isn't going to perform like a Stanford or a Marshall. They're not going to play up to the competition. They have to play up to Clemson. They have to play up to Syracuse, as much as I hate to say that. They have to play up to USC. UNLV, Boston College, and Navy, those are games that they should win. So you're 6-3, you're bowl eligible right there. Then you got 3 more matches where you can play up, and I'm sure the boys are going to be fired up. So at the end of the day, all these fans who are freaking out, I'm not. Am I worried about some things? Maybe. But it's all, don't know the right word I'm looking for here, but it can be fixed. And everyone's just pointing the finger at everyone. They want to find someone to blame. They want to find a scapegoat. Football isn't an easy game. At the end of the day, it's a very tough game. And you miss 1 or 2 assignments, you miss 1 or 2 tackles, and we're in the loss column. The refs didn't help on Saturday. But I don't understand why people want someone fired. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Listen, this was always going to be a transition year. Now, we were on the highly optimistic side that it would be a decent transition from the old regime to the new. We thought that we had the defense that was talented enough, and they are. And we thought we had enough weapons on offense that would be manageable. And that way, you would need to make the quarterback effectively a game manager. And, I mean, quite frankly, we had higher than normal expectations with Tyler Buckner, a 6'1", 200-pound quarterback that can run a 4.4 40 and threw for 6,000 yards and over 50 touchdowns in his junior year of high school, setting a state record. Obviously, Buckner went down, and that's immediately right there. You kind of have to take 2 wins off the board of what's expected. Drew Pine had been efficient before this Stanford game, and he kind of came back down to earth. I still think that he can play better, and he's obviously shown it the last couple weeks, UNC and so on and so forth. Like, the talent's there. I think the contrast between the BYU game and the Stanford game, it's very abundantly clear that Drew Pine is completely and utterly and totally dependent on Michael Mayer being open. And Michael Mayer is going to be open the majority of the time. But the majority is not always. And if he is not always open, and that's the only target that you are looking at, you are going to get sacked, or you're going to get pressured. You're going to have to run, throw it away, maybe get back to the line of scrimmage, or you're going to have to just go to a second read, God forbid. And that's when, mistakes can be made. So, it's just there's things that are inherently just working against us. So yeah, we had high expectations for sure. And now, I mean, you have to just take fault and admit those expectations were not realistic. And it's time to start becoming realistic. We are in a regime change, and to highlight what that would mean. And this is credit on Twitter to Twitter user Beng1801. He actually tweeted this back on September 11th after
Benji.
Benji, BENG 1801. So Benji tweeted it back on September 11th, which I would believe would be right after the Marshall loss. Notre Dame's recruiting classes, the 5 years prior leading into Brian Kelly's tenure. Now this would be Charlie Weiss's recruiting classes.
Yep.
Charlie Weiss had the 5th best class, the 6th best class, the 2nd best class, and then the 15th and the 15th respectively. Now, the 5 classes leading into Marcus Freeman's tenure were ranked 10th, 15th, 15th, 9th, and 7th. So our classes were good, they were deep, But as you can see, at the wide receiver position, at the offensive line position, at the linebacker position currently, now future is obviously coming in the future. Help is coming in the future, but currently the linebacker position is wide receivers and quarterbacks are just a little bit too thin without the top end talent that we would need in order to close out a 10-win season. So we've already seen a massive, massive increase in the quality of recruits that are coming to Notre Dame. All of them repeatedly keep signaling that they are going to stay loyal to their commitments despite the ongoing problems. I think that they understood when they were committing to this program, listen, these are not Freeman's guys. I'm a Freeman guy. I mean, Cam Williams just jumped up like 100 spots in the consensus. Like, he's like rated as a top 20 wide receiver coming in as a true freshman next year. He's a commit. Do you think that we need wide receiver help? Like, it's coming. Everything that we want, everything that we are looking for, and everything that we currently need is already signed, sealed, and committed. So my question for you, Wagon, or I guess I'll make this a little bit more hypothetical, and then I'll close out my point and push back to you here. Would you expect a true freshman to come into a program and immediately lead you into national contention? Or would it be more reasonable to expect a true freshman to come in and play, show some moments of some flashes of greatness, but ultimately some inexperience? And would you expect that freshman to make a couple of rookie mistakes, but learn and grow and improve along the way, therefore developing and setting up himself and his team for success going forward?
No, Steve, don't be silly. Don't be silly right now.
No. Everybody in their first year is expected to be a national championship caliber player.
You're supposed to be a Heisman winner once you step
naturally.
On
yeah, exactly.
But no,
so that's what we have with Marcus Freeman, if I could make the analogy. Marcus Freeman is a 5-star recruit quarterback that committed to the University of Notre Dame. In this analogy, is he going? Oh. We know in the meantime, in the short term, he's still going to have flashes of brilliance. He still is remarkably talented. He's just working out the kinks to develop into the player, or in this case, coach, with this analogy, that we need him to be. Marcus Freeman is the guy. He just doesn't have the infrastructure in place around him yet. He is going to grow into the role. The recruits are going to come. The quality of football player on this program is going to precipitously increase over the course of the next 3 years. We understood that this was a possibility when the whole Kelly thing happened back in early December. Everyone was immediately saying, we just set our program back a couple of years. Guess what? We set our program back to 2013, 14, 15. But then look what happened in 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
Yeah, and to make this abundantly clear, 99% of the time we are a satire site. We make jokes because we are the overreacting superfan. People are mad at me right now because I said that 3-3, 4-2, and 5-1 were wrong. Am I feeling that we can go 6-0? Yes. Would I be surprised if we didn't? No. But at the end of the day, why show up and watch a game that you think you're going to lose? That's just a point I want to make before I continue on with what we're talking about. You should think you're going to win every game. Notre Dame has put themselves into a chance to win every game. The 3 losses that have been this season, right? Number 1 or whatever, top 5 Ohio State. How many did we lose by them, Steve? I asked you. We lost by 11. Marshall, we lost by 5. That's 16 points right there. We lost to Stanford by 2. We've lost 3 games by 18 points.
And we had, mind you, a touchdown called back on one of the most bogus and insane and ridiculous penalty calls in the history of football. So that's also something to factor in here, as we kind of got fucked by the refs. I mean, I know one play doesn't change a game, but one scoring play that would put you up by 5 at the end of the game instead of down by 2 does have a tangible effect. So that is a
missed PI as well. So there's calls that didn't go for us. So we've lost by 18. Our 3 wins have been by 13, by 7. So we're at 20 right now. We're a +2 point differential, and by 8. We're +10 in point differential. Though we could be 5-1 right now. So everyone freaking out that we lost 3 games to Stanford, Marshall, and Ohio State just really has to chill out. It's going to happen. We will bang the drum that Notre Dame's not going to lose another game for the rest of the time. Only because people get so gosh darn mad at us saying that. Oh, you're not realistic. Yes, we are. Listen to what we're talking about. We're very level-headed right now. We're not out here saying that everyone needs to be fired like some of you are. Changes will be made. We don't get paid to make these changes. And at the end of the day, financially, if you hire someone and you bring them on for, I don't know, whatever they're making, let's use a round number here, $10 million. Do you want to eat $10 million if you fire them after 1 year of poor performance? In business, if you perform poorly, you put on a performance improvement plan, a PIP. Why can't that happen at ND as well? Say, hey, we recognize what we have to do. We're going to bring this person in to help you out and see what happens. If no improvement happens in year 2, when you're not handcuffed by Brian Kelly, let's see. You know what? Does that make sense? Am I talking crazy right now?
No, of course. It's like leeway has to be given. Grace has to be extended. Brian Kelly lost to Tulsa and Navy in his first season. He started his career 1-3 at Notre Dame, not 3-3, 1-3. He started his second year 0-2. We know all the horrific shit that happened in the early 2000s, 2010s rather. Brian Kelly went 8-5. He went 8-5, and then finally went 12-0. Went to the national championship. We know how that ended, and 13, 14, 15, 16. Some highlights, some lowlights. But then after he had time to get his guys, after he had time to develop them, after he had the time to institute a winning culture and set the high standard, the pieces fell into place. We know what Brian Kelly's ceiling was because of his lack of desire to recruit. And if Brian Kelly's ceiling was a national championship appearance and 2 playoff appearances, and that's with a guy that didn't recruit, just imagine what will happen when Notre Dame has a guy that can recruit. And they have better guys on their roster now than we had back then. Yes, there's been turmoil. Yes, there's been some lackluster performances. Don't forget, you lost your best wide receiver for the year to a blown ACL. One of your key wide receivers on the field at all times is a 6th-year super senior walk-on. Yeah, of course there's gaps and there's holes. We were confident at the beginning of the year that we could cover those up, that talent would prevail, the offensive line would be better, the running backs would be able to get some space, take some pressure off the passing game. Michael Mayer would be there, and he has been. He's been fantastic. And then, we thought that balls would be getting out to the wide receivers more. Quarterback's not getting the ball into the hands of the receivers. That's a development issue. That's something that's going to happen over the course of time. He started 3 games in his fucking career. We are transitioning. That's just the way that it is. So yeah, am I upset? Am I pissed? Am I mad? Was I upset that we lost? Of course, I was heartbroken. But then when you take a step back, you look at things, you compare, you contrast, you say, listen, we've been here before, we've got through it. And when we got through to the other side, a national championship appearance and 2 playoff appearances. The future is still bright. Marcus Freeman is still the guy. And I still think that the sky has not fallen yet, thankfully, because I think that would hurt if it landed on you. But it's just the rational minds need to prevail. And at this point, you kind of just have to treat the season as a bunch of fun. We're completely knocked out of playoff contention. We're knocked out of a New Year's Six bowl game. Even if we finish 9-3, I don't think that's happening. And that's fine. But at this point, what you have to do is you just have to have fun. You have to cheer for the team to win. You have to understand that there's a possibility that they can lose. And what you have to cheer for is development. You want to see this offensive line push people around and bully them around. You want to see these wide receivers get in and out of cuts, get open, and make a play so that way Drew Pine can get them the ball. You want to see Drew Pine stand in the pocket, stand strong, stand tall, go through his reads, first, second, third read, get the ball out, get into the hands of a guy in stride, make a big play. You want to see these running backs make their cuts, get their yards, get their touchdowns, make some plays. And obviously on the defense, you want to see them ball out. You want to just see improvement, because if you can get the improvement and you can get the momentum, you can continue to recruit top talent to this campus. And once they are here, we will be fine. The future is so unbelievably bright. The true freshmen on this team already are incredible. The freshmen coming in the year after are going to be unbelievable. It's just a transitioning period that we should have accepted a while back. But I think we just got caught up in a moment of euphoria by getting our guy. Everyone back in December when Marcus Freeman was announced as the full-time guy, everyone loved it because they knew the upside. The downside is we have him a little bit too early, but he's going to develop just as his program is.
It seems like everyone wants the head coach to be a Ryan Day, a Nick Saban. People forget how bad Clemson was for a while. There was a whole movement out there called Clemsoning, where you went up big and then you found a way to lose. Do you remember that? Because I do. And now people are acting like Dabo Swinney is the next Nick Saban. All coaches are going to go through this, and it's how you respond to this type of adversity.
Look at what Venables is going through in Oklahoma right now.
Oh, but yeah, Brett, well, that's because he can't steal signs. That's beside the point. Brett Venables, he was Jesus. You know, he was a name that people wanted. And people are telling us, oh, you should have went out and gotten Luke Fickell. You should have went out and got Lane Kiffin. Why? Why go out and get someone like that? And with Tommy, so the crux of the issue, the elephant in the room, is that everyone wants Tommy Rees fired. I do not want him fired. Tommy Rees will defend Notre Dame until the day that he's blue in the face.
And he's an excellent recruiter.
He's great at recruiting. He's been at Notre Dame. He understands how Notre Dame will change you if you let it. And it's not just rhetoric with him. Like, he's been through everything. Why not have a guy like that on your staff? Oh, he's been here for a decade and he hasn't done anything. Really, a decade? How long has Tommy Rees been on the goddamn staff? Not a decade.
As an analyst, what, 19, 20, and then he just took over as OC in 21?
Yeah, something like that. It's just, I don't understand overall where these people are coming from with. It's like they're pulling these stats out of thin air, and they're using it to fit their own. It's not their own rhetoric, but it's their own weird worldview of why they don't want this staff to be together. How about Al Golden blitzing two linebackers on 3rd and long instead of playing, a more basic defense and using your Viper? How about making some defensive adjustments? Why does it all have to fall on the quarterback? Oh, our offense isn't good. Really? We have a 3-headed beast in the backfield. We have a Biletnikoff semifinalist in Mayer. We have a good offense with a piecemealed wide receiver room. So, like, everyone has just freaked out way too much, and frankly, it's just kind of ridiculous overall.
And here's also something worth noting. It's that we are all upset because we are currently at the point in our program where we expect to immediately contend for a national championship, even with the first-year coach. That's a good thing. That's a good thing that you had such high expectations and were let down. You had those expectations because the health of this program is incredible. We're going through some temporary heartache. Yeah, again, I can't express enough how over the last 32 and a half years of my life, just how much I wanted to see Notre Dame win the big one. And they haven't. And it hurts to know that I have to push that off one more year. But guess what? Not going to lie, it's going to be my Jesus year. So we might be onto something here. But the fact that you're saying, even in the face of a head coach just in the middle of the night packing his shit and bouncing, that you still have the roster, the infrastructure, the team, the coaches, that you can immediately be a national championship contender, even if it doesn't happen in year one. I mean, can you sound more spoiled by stamping your feet like a toddler?
That's exactly right. It's like the fan base are being, petulant children right now. It's like, oh, they're not going to get their way. Like I said in our chat, I've been calling fans in our chat privately chicken littles. I mean, I've said it publicly too. I'm not one to shy away from that. But it's not chicken little anymore. It's Veruca Salts. Like, I want it now. Get me that squirrel now. And then you know what happened to Veruca Salt when she started to stomp her feet and not get her way? She fell down the hatch and Oompa Loompas had to extract her out of there. She lost the chocolate factory.
Yep. And the lesson there is sometimes you just have to show a little gratitude. A little bit of gratitude goes a long way.
So
and
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Continue.
I was just going to say, I mean, basically, we need to be grateful. We need to be grateful for what we have in the situation that we're in. Because now we have a chance to see what these players are made of, especially these underclassmen. We know what the seniors are made of. But the underclassmen, this is an opportunity for them to grow and make this a better program in the future. And I'll turn over to you now.
So let's do some numbers here. Lou Holtz in his tenure at Notre Dame lost 10 games to unranked opponents. Bob Davie lost 10 games in his Notre Dame tenure to unranked opponents. Tyrone Willingham, 7. Charlie Weiss, 14. One of them was UConn. Brian Kelly, first year lost to 4 unranked opponents. Then there was a year of 3, a year of 1, a year of 3, and a year of 6. So if we do those numbers there, that's 10, 13, 16,
17.
Brian Kelly lost to unranked opponents 17 times in his career. Marcus Freeman has lost to 2. There it is right there. If everyone was on Twitter during the first year of Brian Kelly and everyone, was this upset, it would be the same thing. You're only hearing it now because everyone's on social media. And you've curated an echo chamber in that you can only hear what you want to hear. So if we just talk about head coaches, 10, 10, 7, and Tyrone Willingham shouldn't have been fired after his 3rd year. That's just my point. 14 and 17. They're your losses. Are people being reactionary because they're thinking it's like a Brian Kelly first year? Probably. But it's just overall ridiculous. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. So I don't know how much longer I could continue to talk about it because it's just, we've made all the points that we need to. If you want me to go and pull up the game log and talk stats and talk numbers and talk plays and talk scheme and this, that, the other thing. Yeah, I don't like running into packed boxes. I want a quarterback that's going to go through a second read. Yeah, we can go and continue to analyze every single down, every single play. We can do the film and all that sort of shit. At the end of the day, the thing that matters is this is a program with 6 games left, potentially 7. So what you have to do is you just have to appreciate what you have. You have to support these guys. You have to build them up. If you had a son that was currently on the Notre Dame football team right now, what would you tell him? Would you tell your son, you suck, you're a loser, you can't get anything done, you're a choke artist? No, what you would tell your son is, hey, you know what? Things are not, just like in life, things are not working out the way that we expected or thought that they would. But we're not going to crumble like a bunch of bitch-ass pansies. What we're going to do is we're going to stand up on our own 2 feet, pull our shoulders back like men, puff out our chests, and face the world. And sometimes you're going to take an L, and that sucks. But the character of a man is how he responds in the face of adversity, not when you're in the good times. So if you can't handle me at my 4-8 2016, then you don't deserve me at my 12-0 2018 playoff appearance. And if you don't want me at my 3-3 first year blunder, temporary blunder with Marcus Freeman, then in 3 years from now, when we are holding a national championship winning trophy, if you're bitching and moaning, complaining on Twitter, we'll go in the parking lot of Notre Dame Stadium. I'll fist fight you. Because you don't get to be a coward and a pansy and scream that everything is terrible and say derogatory things to these young men working their ass off and literally, quite literally, putting their life, limb, and body on the line for your entertainment. And then you only come back around when things are good. You have to go through the bad to embrace the good. This is the ultimate sacrifice of a Notre Dame man. You do things the hard way because it's the right way. In the school, in the classroom, in the community, and on that football field. And sometimes things go wrong, but you just have to adjust, grow, and learn. And if you can't do that as a fan, but you somehow expect the players to do it in kind, then you are absolutely sociopathic. And that's the last thing I want to say about this, because frankly, I'm disgusted with people's behavior.
Well, if anyone needs a wall replastered, send the bill to Steve, because I'm ready to run through a wall for Steve right now. Tommy Reese an hour ago said, there's no point of hanging our head and feeling sorry because the guys outside the building sure as shit aren't. So we're just going to keep charging ahead and get ready to play Saturday afternoon. That's our podcast summarized in 2 sentences. Move forward. You got the Rebels, you got the Orange, and then you got the Tigers. Win 3, you're sitting through, you're bowl eligible, and then we'll figure out the next 3. There we are. The season can be divided into thirds, 2, 2, and 2. However you want to divide this last half of the season. You win each week, and then see what happens with everyone else. Notre Dame's not going anywhere.
Notre Dame's not going anywhere. And I'll tell you, especially where they will be, is on Peacock at 2:30 this upcoming Saturday against the UNLV Rebels. I don't have any thoughts other than let's just enjoy the program and support our team on Saturday and root for the best. Obviously, we want to hold them to a high standard, but let's not be dickheads about it. That's the only thoughts that I have going forward. Was there anything that you wanted to add, specifically alumni?
Oh, do I ever. UNLV, their alumni group's the best out of every alumni group I've researched this year. Guy Fieri, Kenny Mayne, the lead singer of Imagine Dragons, Jimmy Kimmel, Suge Knight, Tommy Lahren, your favorite, Icky Woods, the guy who did the Icky Shuffle, the guy who founded a couple casinos in Vegas. I don't know his name. A bunch
Steve
of
Wynn.
YouTubers. Sure, that one too. I don't think it was him. It was a person who did Circus Circus. The creator of CSI. UNLV just has a great alumni list. Overall, it's a university. It certainly is. I think if I didn't go to school redacted, I would look at UNLV now. It looks like a fun place to go. The other person on here, not only Suge Knight, not only Kenny Mayne, but you have people like Gingerfish, who was part of Marilyn Manson. You have just a ton of fun individuals. Cecil Fielder when there.
Cecil Field, yeah.
Yeah, I know a baseball player. And then you look at like Randall Cunningham, former quarterback for the Eagles and Minnesota Vikings. He went to UNLV. Keenan McCardell, Nick Rolovic, who's currently the head football coach at Hawaii. They all went there. So it's a pretty cool, and Charlie Hoffman, to throw a golf name in there. So really, UNLV is a pretty cool school overall. And that's really all I got about them. We did say we would talk about UNLV punting real quick and shout out John Sott. We got him on the list. He is on the Ray Guy Award list. He played very well on Saturday, so that should help his stats. He just puts balls where people cannot return them. So that's just what I want to say about John. So good on you. I am going to be wearing an I Cheer for the Punter shirt at the Syracuse match. So if you see me, say hello. That goes out to you, Mike and Candace. Would love that. And overall, I was just kind of stalling there while I pulled up the stats for UNLV and their punters. Steve, do you have anything about UNLV? They have a basketball team too, which is pretty cool, I guess.
They do. Their basketball team's actually extremely good. It's actually crazy that they're not a nasty football team. Like, if I were a recruit and you're telling me that I have the opportunity to go to Sin City for school, and if you play well enough, you know that, you could probably get into the appropriate casinos and nightclubs. Seems like it might be a worthwhile place to go, but nevertheless, nobody agrees with that, so they typically are very bad. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, because last time I did, we were embarrassed.
I just don't want to brag. I did say it could turn out like Marshall, so I hate to be right. They are 4-3. They're coming off of 2 losses to San Jose State and Air Force. They did beat the best one-win team in the nation in Utah State. They beat New Mexico, and they beat North Texas, lost to Cal 14-20. Overall, in terms of their special teams, their punters and kickers. Kicker is perfect on the year in extra points and field goals. He is 25 for 25 extra points and 6 for 6 with field goals. Their punter, Marshall Nichols, 33 punts, 1,397 yards, averaging 42.3. He is a transfer from Mississippi State, where he did not play in 2021. He is 8th in the Mountain West in punts, 7th in the Mountain West in punting yards, and 8th in the Mountain West in punting yards per punt. He is certainly a punter.
Gotta love those punters.
Punters are people too.
Especially John Sott. Legitimately, actually, shout out John Sott.
John Sott is our favorite player. This week, I want Notre Dame to bounce back. Let Pine throw a couple touchdowns. Get Steve Angeli in the game at some point. I want to see him play. The UNLV quarterback might be hurt, so hopefully our defense can get back on right. This is a get-right game. Get-right game, then we're going into Syracuse, and we're upsetting them up in the dome. That's all I got. Let's rally. Let's win some games. Let's get through October with a winning record. And we're not going anywhere. Notre Dame is here to stay.
What though the odds be great or small? Go Irish, baby.
Go Irish.